Hello, subscribers. I've come to realize that I love the missing millennial, aka TMM, because unlike all other atheist YouTubers that I know of, he is the only one that puts his entire response in writing on screen while he says exactly what is written. This makes it so much easier to respond to, and I can even make editing easier by just showing his words on screen and not bothering to listen to him talk or write my own words down, which is especially good since Kadin Live is not very user-friendly with text. The only problem is with his thumbnails. They do not really give me anything to work off of for my own thumbnails. So as I am writing this, I have no idea what I am going to do for a thumbnail for this or future videos responding to him. So with that, my next response will be to a video called 5 Things Christians Still Should Not Say to Atheists, which seems to feature Braxton Hunter, who is not the type of person you should be going after if you want to make a video about things you should not say. Braxton tends to caveat whatever he says a lot, sometimes too much in my opinion, but he will purposefully try and avoid anything offensive or potentially offensive. So let's find out what Timmy has to complain about.
So yes, we believe that you have morality, that you're aware of moral principles, and that you can function morally. That's if someone is saying to you that if you don't have a Bible, you won't know anything about what's right and wrong, then yeah, that's ridiculous.
Okay, I wasn't going to say anything here because he agrees with Braxton on this part, but I just noticed how he spelled ridiculous, and anyone who's been paying attention to my recent videos knows I did not actually know how to spell it. I knew something was wrong because it was never said right, but spell check didn't know what I was trying for, and I didn't want to waste my character count trying to redo it over until I got it right. Moving on.
No, we understand that you do have moral principles. We understand that you're aware of some of the same morality that we're aware of, just through general revelation, what we experience as we observe our own psychology and that of others. We're aware that you're aware of morality and that you have it. The question is, where does that track to?
Hey Timmy, have you never heard of the moral argument for God's existence? If you want to counter that argument, then you need to show how it tracks to something other than God. If you can't show where morality comes from on atheism, then theism has a huge advantage. And while I'm here, I might as well point out that I'm pretty sure, no matter how I do this, someone will get confused if they only listen to the video instead of watching it. I'll try and keep it obvious what's going on, but I make no promises, and people should really just watch in order to know what Timmy said that I am responding to.
What from whence does that spring?
No, Timmy, you seem to be misunderstanding the point of the question. Evolution and social conditioning doesn't get you morality, so where does morality come from in your worldview? The point of the question is not interested in, for example, is it wrong to murder? It's interested in why it's wrong to murder.
That the moral concerns you have as an atheist for, say, the way Christians function or the way Christians vote or things that people do, it's going to sound like you think that there is some overarching, high-level, transcendental moral foundation that you can appeal to and then expect us to live accordingly.
Okay, Timmy, that is at least trying to be consistent with your beliefs, but not everyone is going to be so consistent.
We want you to tell us where you think the foundation for that lies. That's, of course, the concern.
And there is the root of your problem, Timmy. Morality is most certainly objective, perhaps, even by definition. Subjective morality is an oxymoron. And God being a subject does not make morality subjective. I did a video on this topic earlier. I will leave a link in the description. But even if morality was subjective to God, it would still be objective to us. And you should be careful about asking for a non-circular reason for a foundational system. For example, if I asked you for the justification about your own mental faculties, such as memory and reason, you will have to use those very faculties to justify them, which is circular. But you don't doubt your own mental faculties now, do you? We ought to follow his moral system because he created us, and there is no moral authority that preceded him.
Again, what they probably mean, well, I guess the more sophisticated way of talking about this is to say, okay, you have, from what you've just said, you have some sort of an existential atheist, Sardian kind of meaning that you kind of determine for yourself. And that's popular right now. Neil deGrasse Tyson has said things like that.
That That is just sad. So Timmy actually doesn't want meaning for his life. He says he doesn't even know what meaning means. Well, it can be synonymous with purpose, which Timmy seems to take as synonymous with duty. But seriously, Timmy, don't you have any hope in your life? Aren't there things you want to accomplish?
You still have something left in this world to treasure, don't you?
If you truly don't have anything you want to accomplish, then why did you start a channel? Even if your only goal was to make money, that is still an accomplishment. More than just the difference between being a Christian and an atheist, in this we are fundamentally opposite. So much so that I can't believe you have any idea what you are saying. What is the point of having no purpose in life? It's the same as having no purpose to living. That is literally depressing.
But what we're asking for is, yeah, but what is the meta meaning? What is the ultimate meaning? Again, that's the sort of question that we're trying to get to.
Hey Timmy, still depressing, but this is not a question about what you ought to do. It's more a question of where you get hope from.
Why might some people who haven't thought that deeply about it develop this sort of a belief? Well, there's all kinds of videos on the internet of people tearing Bibles up, burning Bibles, and people kicking Bibles around at a protest. That could be why some Christians develop the belief that these people hate God.
Hey Timmy, could you give me an example? Because when I think of hating a fictional character, I could say I hate a character, but I don't burn copies of Game of Thrones because it has someone I don't like. That kind of hate can only work against the work itself, not the character in the work. These are two very different kinds of hate.
Well, first of all, this may rely on the idea that you can't prove a negative, which of course you can prove a negative if you can find something that is incoherent or contradictory within the nature of the thing that you're describing.
Oh, Timmy, we already covered that the last time I dealt with you. Existence does not require space or time.
Problem of evil, arguments from evil. And if you thought those were successful, I would expect you to point to them, and maybe you do elsewhere. But here, you're just telling me, well, it's just like we don't believe in Hinduism.
Which is a bad point that I expect Braxton will deal with shortly.
People throw out these religions as if they all have the same evidentiary appeal, and they simply don't.
There is no need to look at evidence for extinct religions. If it couldn't survive the times, there is no reason to believe it. So you only really need to look at the active ones. And it doesn't take much to realize that only Judeo-Christian has the best evidence. In fact, I suspect that if Timmy were honest, he would say that if any religion were true, it would be Christianity. So Timmy, if you're watching, what would you say is the most likely theistic religion to be true if you were convinced God exists?
Make your case for Hinduism. Make your case for Islam. Make your case for Zeus. But we don't think of these other religions as exactly the same as Christianity. I understand you do.
Hey Timmy, I think you're pushing your point beyond its capabilities. Hemet Meta treated them as the same. So Braxton saying that Hemet thinks they're the same is on point. I could just as easily say no, atheist became an atheist because they heard people make their case for every single religion in existence and found atheism to be more persuasive. That point doesn't really get you anywhere.
We actually don't think that. We think there is evidence that is good enough that we think it's reasonable to conclude Christianity in the face of other religions.
You do not need to examine every religion to know when you have the real one, just like you don't need to examine all the fake money to know a real dollar bill.
Self, and that I don't believe in them means I shouldn't believe in Christianity.
I really don't think William Lane Craig said that exactly. I know he said something that atheists like to misconstrue, but I don't have the quote, so I won't try to defend it more than that.
The idea was, what if you're wrong? So what if you're wrong? You're saying, if I'm wrong, nothing's going to happen. Yeah, but what if you're wrong, right?
And this is Timmy's last point, and it's actually okay. Except, no, it isn't. It sounds okay until you give it a second's thought. It would actually be more like asking, what if you fall off your boat? Most people know to wear a life jacket, but the atheist in this analogy doesn't believe in the water or drowning or whatever is the comparable in the analogy, so he doesn't wear one. But what if you're wrong about water or drowning? Also, before I leave, I just want to rant about something. Why do people self-censor like this? I understand if you were live and made an oopsie, but you're not live. You chose your words purposefully only to cut them out in editing. Could you really not think of a less profane way of saying what you wanted to say? Do you need a thesaurus?